multipotentiality. Medyo mahaba-haba ang word na ito, but we can divide it into three parts. So multi, meaning many, potential, and then ity. Okay, but multipotentiality. And there's actually a book that is titled Refuse to Choose on the same topic then. I'll tell you all about some resources later. Okay, so let's get started with this. Yeah. First things first, ano nga ba ang multipotentiality? What does this long word mean anyway? Okay, so according to Wikipedia, this is a term referring to the ability and preference of a person, particularly one of strong intellectual or artistic curiosity, to excel in two or more different fields. Okay, medyo technical ang definition na ito. So I like to define it in simpler terms. So simply, it is having many different interests and creative pursuits. Yun. And yung tawag daw sa mga tao who exhibit this trait ay multipotentialites. Okay, but there are other terms that have been suggested by different authors. So sabi din nila pwedeng scanners, generalists, multi-passionate, multipods. Ito common to yung jack of all trades. Naririnig natin to lagi. Renaissance persons and polymaths. Okay. So you might be thinking, multipotentialite kaya ako? Kasi I do have a lot of interests. Baka naisip nyo na you could be one. So let's try to answer this quiz. Bale, may tanong and then there's like 3 options, 1, 2, 3. And then you can take note of your answer. Like you can write it down on a paper or on your phone. Or tandaan nyo na lang, short lang naman ito, in order for us to tell kung tayo nga ay multipotentialite. Okay? You can also later on chat your results dun sa ating chat box. Okay, so let's get started. Question number 1. You love connecting with and relating to all kinds of different people. Okay, so first option, no. If I'm out of my element, I don't know what to do with myself. Second, relating might not be my strong suit, but I'm always curious about other people. And third, yes, that's totally me. So isulat nyo lang kung 1, 2, or 3. Okay, throughout your life, you've been interested in both logical or scientific and artistic or intuitive fields. Okay, so option 1, false. If it's not logical, I don't get it. 2, I lean more towards the artistic side, but I'm curious about science too. And 3, true. Pretty much everything interests me. Okay ba? All right. Next, you had or would have a really hard time choosing a major or course in school, in college. Okay, sinong mga nahirapan dyan pumili? Sinong nag-shift ng madaming beses? Ako! Okay, so number 1 is no, I like to pick something and stick with it. 2, kind of, I had to think about it for a while. And 3rd, yes, worst decision ever. Okay. I hope we're not going too fast. Yeah. So next naman is, how many different projects do you work on over the course of an average week? Okay, tandaan nyo the past week. Ano bang ginawa ninyo? So first, just one. Bale, ito projects could be like for work, pwede din mga passion projects, art projects, ganun. So first is just one. Number 2, 2 to 3. 3 is 4 or more. Okay. So just note 1, 2, or 3. Next question. If you hadn't seen someone in 5 years, would they be able to guess what you're up to now? 1, yes, I've been on a pretty straight path over the years. Straight dapat yun. And number 2, maybe I'm doing something related to what I was doing 5 years ago. And 3rd, no way, 5 years ago is like 5 lifetimes ago. All right. I think a couple more questions. So when someone asks, what do you do? What goes on in your mind? So first is nothing much. I'm comfortable answering the question because I have a job title that fits. So you can answer this in one word. And number two, my job title doesn't really reflect the full extent of who I am or what I'm into. And then third, where do I even start? Sa dami ng ginagawa mo, hindi mo alam kung paano sasagutin itong tanong. Okay, so 1, 2, or 3. Next one, how many tabs are open in your browser right now? Sige nga, check nyo. So 1 is between 1 and 5, 2, 6 to 10, 3, 10 or more. Okay, baka ang bagal na nung computer nyo kasi sobrang daming tabs ang nakabukas. Okay, let us know which one it is. Okay, next, have you ever felt a growing sense of guilt and worry that you've fallen out of love with your main pursuit? So first is I have no idea what you're talking about. Number two, I've felt this way a handful of times. And third, yes, so many times. All right. And do you get obsessively interested in new subjects? First, no, I like to stick with what I know. Two, sometimes. And third, yes, this happens to me frequently. Okay. Ito, true na, I think ito na yung last. So how do you feel about doing something you've never done before but are curious about? Maybe somebody asked you to do something. So would you say, first, no thanks, I'm just too busy with the main thing I'm working on right now? Two, that sounds like fun, but I only like working on a handful of projects at any given time. And third, sign me up. I want to do all the things. Yeah, excited, gumawa ng something new. All right. So nalista nyo ba mga sagot ninyo? So which number shows up the most? Okay, so if you answered mostly threes, congrats, you're most likely a multipotentialite. Ayun. So, yeah, sana hindi ko nakikita kasi yung chat ngayon eh, pero if you just found out that you're a multipotentialite, congratulations. It's a good thing to be. Okay. So, now we want to know, kasi practical lang tayo, di ba? So how can one make a living as a multipotentialite? And according to Emily Wapnick, so she is one of the most well-known multipotentialites. She has a TED Talk about it. So sabi niya, the work question is almost certainly the biggest, most pressing, anxiety-inducing issue that multipotentialites face. Oo nga naman, di ba? Kasi having all these interests, having all these creative pursuits, how will you translate that into something na mabubuhay ka, something na you can get income from to sustain yourself? Okay, so Emily Wapnick also presented the 4 work models commonly used by multipotentialites. So let's go through them quickly. Okay, so the first model is the group hug approach. Bakit group hug? Okay, so it involves having one job or business that is multifaceted and allows you to use many different passions, interests, and skills in your work. So for example, if you're working in a startup company or maybe an NGO, or you have a business that allows you to integrate your many interests and passions. So parang sama-sama sa isang job. So I had a job like this in an NGO before. Parang ako yung graphic designer, writer, layout artist, nag-voice over pa ako minsan. So that was something that I really enjoyed. Okay, model number 2, the slash approach. So it involves having 2 or more narrow jobs or businesses that you shift between. And your various projects remain separate and are not overtly combined. So ito na yung may slash. Ayan, so graphic designer ka slash yoga instructor. you're a lawyer slash minister, you're a therapist slash musician. May kilala akong ganyan. And basically, yung mga freelancers, diba? They can shift between two or more jobs. Okay. Model number 3 is the Einstein approach. Bakit Einstein? So the story goes na Einstein worked as parang patent officer. He worked for the Intellectual Property Office, evaluating mga patent applications. So yung job niya na yon was well, it was a stable but kind of menial job, and it didn't take much of Einstein's time or creative energy. So meron pa siyang time and energy to go after his passion, ang discoveries niya in physics. Yun. So this is having a day job that doesn't take up much time and or creative energy, allowing one to engage with their other projects and passions outside of their work. And this is also used as a transitional tool. For example, ayan, if you have an administrative office job, or maybe you're a virtual assistant, but then you combine that with being a musician, you play in bars. If you're a BPO worker, but then you also have like a baking or catering business on the side. Kasi parang once matapos yung iyong shift, you still have time and energy for another thing. And the last is the Phoenix approach. So this is best used by multipotentialites who are more sequential in nature. So ito yung, kasi meron yung simultaneous, all at the same time. Yung sequential naman is one after the other. So it involves working in a job for a period of time, a few years maybe, and then shifting to an entirely new field altogether. So an example of this would be the serial entrepreneur. So once na put up na niya yung business niya, tapos maybe lost interest in it, but it's doing well, so ititinda niya and then start another business. So something like that. And of course, there are hybrids, and many multipotentialites are hybrids and draw from several of these models. So ako personally, I'm a hybrid. I do group hug as well as slash approach. I've also done yung Einstein approach at one point in my life. Okay, so there's many different combinations of it. Okay. Okay, part 3. Until part 4 lang naman to. Okay. So, why should I embrace a multipotentialite life? Bakit nga ba? So what are the advantages of being a multipotentialite? So here are some of them. Well, a lot of them. So being a multipotentialite, you quickly acquire new skills. Kasi lagi kang nagsa-start over, diba? You're learning something new every time. You're not afraid of trying something new. So you quickly acquire new skills, idea synthesis, napagko-combine mo yung mga ideas and concepts, adaptability. You also have many career options, and then concocting new solutions. You're able to think outside of the box. Also contextual thinking, connecting the dots. Enthusiasm, and there's also novelty and variety, and dealing with a lot of people, so you're able to empathize with a broader set of people and cultures. Okay, and I would also like to stress ang benefits nito to our mental health. So growing up in a specialist-centric culture, so specialist meaning yung isang career path, one true calling, ganon, can take a toll on the self-esteem and mental health of multipotentialites. But embracing your multipotentiality and living as your authentic self is liberating. Okay, kasi syempre you get to do what you like, you get to be who you really are. Well, maybe may pressure pa rin, but at least, diba, you are able to run your life how you like it. So for me personally, malaking tulong sa mental health ko when I embraced multipotentiality. So before, I used to think na ano ako, parang flaky, commitment phobe, ganon, palipat-lipat ng trabaho. But then when I came across the concept of multipotentiality, na-realize ko na I am one, and that yung mga flaws na akala ko were actually my superpowers. Yun yung tawag ni Emily Wapnick dun sa mga advantages. So they're actually something good if you only embrace it and practice it. Okay, and the last is challenges and strategies. Of course, being a multi-potentialite comes with its own set of challenges. Okay, it's not all happy kasi madami talaga din challenges that we are going to face, particularly in these three categories. So career, productivity, and confidence. And specifically, here are some of those challenges. So distraction and burnout, overscheduling, high stress levels, confusion, paralysis by analysis, yung parang nag-overthink ka, tas wala ka nang nagawa. We also lose out on the benefits of specialization or long-term commitment. Okay, and then number 4 is imposter syndrome. So this is when you think you're not good enough. So common to sa mga multi-potentialites because we do many things, and sabi nga nila, master, jack of all trades, master of none. So sometimes you might feel like we are lacking in skills and competence in some certain areas kasi nga madami tayong ginagawa all at the same time. And then there's also pressure from parents and other people to conform to a more typical lifestyle. Ayan, parang common ito, hindi siya nawawala na sasabihin ng ibang tao na bakit, especially like those who are authority figures in your life, ganito na lang ang gawin mo kasi parang weird yung multipotentialite life. Some people might see it as like unstable or yun nga, hindi typical siya. Okay, but then we also have these strategies to help us cope with the challenges, so such as productivity and scheduling tools. These have really been helpful for me. I use Trello. I use my phone. Ayan. So my schedule is naka-alarm siya sa phone ko. So after, let's say, an hour, mag-a-alarm siya and I do another thing. And then we also have positive accountability. So it's good to have like an accountability partner who would check up on you. You would also check up on them regarding mga projects and stuff that you do. So collaboration basically. Self-care, ayan, yung mga diniscuss kanina ni na Thea about healthy coping. It's also good to learn how to prioritize or have this hierarchy of values. There's also resources that you can look for online that could help. And of course, support groups. So here are some resources for us multi-potentialites to help us navigate this life of multi-potentiality. So puttylike.com is a website run by Emily Wapnick. So madaming articles dito that you can read. Very helpful. And there's also a TED Talk by her. So why some of us don't have one true calling. Ito kay Barbara Sher, yung Refuse to Choose, yung title ng kanyang book. Also by Emily, How to Be Everything. And then The Renaissance Soul by Margaret Lobenstein. Yeah, so you can look these up online. Okay, and here are my references for my talk. You can go to these links, mas in-depth pang discussion ng mga topics na to. Okay, and for the last part, I want to stress the importance of community when it comes to multi-potentialites because I know madaming multi-potentialites out there. They just don't know it, or maybe na pressure lang sila into conforming to society's norms. So it's good to have a community of multi-potentialites that would help each other out, that would encourage one another, to give tips, advice to each other in order to be able to fully embrace and enjoy a life of multipotentiality. And so, I invite you, kayong mga sumagot ng mostly 3 doon sa ating quiz. So, join me in establishing a community for Filipino multipotentialites. So, bale, meron akong page na Axolotl. That's where I post like all the stuff I do as a multipotentialite. And I'm coming up with Axolotl Academy, alternative school siya next year. And I also hope to be able to launch Axolotl Assembly. So, ito yung at least starting point na magkaroon ng community for us multipotentialites.